And
complaint
very good evening to all of you. This is Gohar Sharif, live, Facebook Live, in another episode of Coffee with Gohar. And today we have with us Brittney-Nichole's Corners, a psychologist, an author, and an entrepreneur. Last year, Brittney wrote a book, EQ Deficiency, which became very popular and one of the most highest selling books, top five or whatever. We'll talk about the book and about other things what Brittney has been through since embarking upon the journey for entrepreneurship. And with me tonight, my guest Daniyal Ali Iqbal. He runs a startup, and we will be talking to him as well in a while. And we will be talking to Mr. Ayub Ghauri, who has just joined in. Welcome to all of you,
Thank you.
one beautiful lady and gentleman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ayub Ghauri is a very renowned figure when it comes to startups, when we talk of entrepreneurship, when we talk of B2B, a wonderful person, a great friend, and it's a pleasure, like always, to have you, Ayub Ghauri Saab. Ghauri Saab, can you hear us?
Well, it comes and goes.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
We
trying to.
start with you, and
Yeah.
uh, we today are going to talk about the dark side, which is basically the stress, the anxiety, and the sleepless night we go through when we embark upon a journey of entrepreneurship. When we decide to become financially independent, when we decide to do things our way, and we say goodbye to 9 to 5 job, we step into uncharted territory. So, Mr. Ayub Bukhari Saab, let's start from you. How do
I'm
you see
sorry, I've
things?
lost you.
Uh,
Can you
Ayub
hear
Bukhari
me?
Saab, yeah, I can hear you. I can hear
Hello?
you clearly. Can you please start why people go through all the stress and anxiety when they go into entrepreneurship mode?
Okay, so I'm guessing you're asking me the question,
Right,
and
right.
the fact that I lost your voice about 80% of the duration of your question, I lost it. But yes, I picked out on on the start. First of all, my apologies. I'm busy at the moment. There were a lot of people around me, and I just took time just to
We we
please
lost
wait.
Ayub Warisa. We lost you. We couldn't hear you.
See, that's the problem with StreamYard. I always have on this platform. I've always had challenges. Can you hear me?
Now
Can
we
you
can
hear me?
hear you me? We can
Okay,
hear you
let me
clearly.
let me. Okay, I will not be able to stay the whole time, but let
No
me
problem.
start. So,
Okay, please.
getting on the journey of and being an entrepreneur is very demanding. First of all, it takes a lot of focus, courage, and stress. Why do we have stress? I believe when you're trying to make something extraordinary in an ordinary environment, and you are feeling the forces against you, and this is where you get into a stressful situation where you're not meeting the demands of the job.
Okay. Yes, that's a very stressful situation for sure.
The resources as well. This is all stress, and at the same time, it puts it's very taxing for your relationships around you. So trying to juggle too many hats, too many plates, uh, that causes stress, and this is where I feel people get into depression. So this is my take on why people get
Right, right. Okay. Yes. We were listening to Ayub Ghauri and his perspective on how people get stressed out when they embark upon the journey. Brittany, what is your experience? How do you see things? What's your personal experience?
Yeah, I can really relate to what Ayub said. I think it's the uncertainty, the unknowns. That's always stressful. And there are so many unknowns that we face as an entrepreneur. It's uncharted waters for us. While other people have done that already, we're taking a different perspective. We're taking a different path of our own. So while we can ask for input and advice from other entrepreneurs, it's kind of like parenting. Everybody does it differently, and there's not a one size fits all approach. And that
Right.
makes it stressful. And you have to be good with time management. And you also have to understand that rejection is a big part of being an entrepreneur or a business owner. And rejection is not easy for any of us. None of us like to be told no. And what I find, and I would love to hear your perspective on this, Gohar, in terms of the difference in culture, but I've noticed that Western culture, a lot of people are afraid to be honest and say no. So they lead you on and make you think that they're interested in your service or your product, and then you never hear from them again. So then you're left wondering, did I do something wrong? What happened? But you're not provided that feedback. There's nothing that's tied up nicely to understand what happened. And we don't like loose ends. We like to have things tied up in life. And so that has been the biggest challenge for me, is not knowing why people aren't interested in my service, or why they tell me they're interested and then they just completely disappear. That's the most challenging for me that I have found.
Right.
I'd love to hear your
Brittany,
perspective.
you have raised a very, very valid point. I think people in West are very polite and diplomatic, and they give you a thumbs up on your product, on your services, on your interaction. Whereas people here in this part of the world, they are to the point, at time very open and blunt. So we get a lot of feedbacks. We get lots of stares, awkward shifting body language, something which gives you, yes, they don't want this product or services. And then they're also vocal about certain things, like what are the downsides to it, what are the highs. So we get a lot of feedback. But you are right in a way. Yes, we also go through the same challenges, because people are polite on your face and they don't want to offend you. They are your friends, they are your colleagues. And that's how you land in trouble. Because one of the reasons why people end up in stress and why people go into anxiety and depression, they are two times more likely to end up in rehabs, in fact, the entrepreneurs. The reason being that 10% of the startups fail in the very first year. About 30 to 40% startups fail in the second year. In the third year, it is as high as 70%. And by fifth year, 90% of the startups have already gone berserk, bankrupt, or they have just vanished. Some have been taken over, some have been bought over. So all these things, they create a lot of stress on the entrepreneurs, the ones who have launched it. And this is true for all over the world, I suppose. Somewhere it's more visible, somewhere it is less visible, but the stress is all there because the person who has invested his life earned, hard earned money, his day in and day out, all nights, sleepless nights kind of a uh, thing into one that particular startup, and now he or she is struggling to make both ends meet to pay the bills of the office or the place. It becomes very, very stressful. Let's hear from Daniyal Ali Iqbal, his about his startup, about his challenges, and where he is today. Let's hear from him. Daniyal, welcome. Please share with us your story.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gohar, for this opportunity. I will briefly explain about my startup. Basically, it's called Simply the Great Food, and we started about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And it was a real startup in real sense because when we started with just one part-time worker, and right now at the moment we have employed about 25 people in our factory. So we have grew considerably. So this journey, which we took about 6 years ago, it has a lot of background or depth into it. So basically, this company, it was conceived about 6 years ago, as I just mentioned. S- Me and my business partner, Sharoz, we started this, and
Okay.
both of us were school friends, by the way. And then he went to England, and myself as well. And we were in different cities, in different courses, in very different backgrounds. He studied supply chain and logistics, and I did my master's in international relations and policy making from Brunel University in London. So this is
Okay.
basically our academic background. It had nothing to do with what we started. So how it
Right.
started basically. So one fine night, he started working in England. He started working. He was doing job over there. He came back to Pakistan, and we met. And we just decided we need to do something, and what it's gonna be. We decided we will do something online because this was about 6 years ago. It was in trend to not just in Pakistan but everywhere else. And another thing was that when you go online, it does not entails a lot of capital. You can start with less capital at the time when we planned to start it. But at the time we were struggling to find an idea. We wanted to start, but we were not sure like in what sector or in what kind of services we will be starting. So basically we started, let's find a problem and work on its solution. When we talk about Pakistan, there's a lot of gap in many things, but whenever you talk about food, it's always you hear a lot of stories about adulteration, and hear a lot of stories about adulteration and purity. Basically we started from honey, and the background
Okay.
to this as well is that since my university days and my school days, college days, I was a keen traveler, and Charles was also a keen traveler. And whenever I used to travel anywhere in Europe, I used to buy honey for my parents and for myself. So I had a very, profound love for honey, you must say that. And
Okay.
similarly, about 7 years ago, when after my master's, I was traveling in the Himalayas and Hindu Kush range in the northern part of Pakistan. As you know, this is Pakistan is considered to be the rooftop of the world, and
Right.
I was exploring the place with my friend, and what I used to do every morning when we were in different valleys, I used to go and interact with people, and I used to find out about the different local delicacies. So I
Right.
found uh, that the honey from Hunza, it was very unique, and
Right.
it was extremely palatable. It was very good, and just getting back to the point where we were having discussion. So I gave him an idea. Let's start from honey. So he said, from where you're going to source it? It's a very difficult thing. Nobody believes that honey is pure. So I said, we will be sourcing it from the mountains. We will be finding the most organic honey over there. And this is how we entered the food business. We started very, very small, and we started, we established our contacts over there. We started to knowing about the beekeepers, the people who were dealing in honey. So this is how we started. And uh, I will be very precise. When we started, we just started with a very small consignment, maybe less than 100,000 rupees. So
Okay.
it's less than $400. So we started from this small amount, and
Okay.
gradually we grew. We had an idea about branding. We had an idea about. We were both educated, and we knew how to do research. We did a lot of research on honey, on different variants of honey, from the honey coming from different parts of the honey from Pakistan. So we realized that when we stepped into it, that the Pakistan produces so many different variants of honey which are still unexplored. And into uh, we entered the Gilgit-Baltistan area, which is known for its pure and organic foods. And now, at
Right.
the moment, we have like about 8 or 9 different products. So if we talk about SKUs, we are dealing in about 30 different SKUs. So this is how basically we started.
So, what kind of products apart from honey, organic products you are marketing, Daniyal? Uh, I can't hear you. Your voice was very clear, probably, and you lost my connection or something. Okay, we'll come back to you. Meanwhile, check your connection. We go to Brittney and we talk to Brittney. Brittney, why do people fail? Why do people kind of they fail in and they can't go to that?
I think there's so many reasons, right, Gohar? It's not just one reason that people tend to fail. It could be a lack of knowledge. It could be a lack of resources, mentorship, emotional resilience. And I think emotional resilience, quite honestly, is probably the biggest reason behind why people fail. Because what you'll come to realize is when you're in that state of stress, that is the dark side of entrepreneurship. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so you do get that tunnel vision and you don't see all of the available resources at your disposal. You don't see that there are people there that are willing to support you because you get stuck in that negative mindset of questioning yourself. Can I do this? Do I have what it takes to make this happen? And I think that kind of snowballs if we don't stop it in its tracks. So while there are many reasons why startups and business owners, entrepreneurs fail, I think tied to all of that is that emotional resilience of perseverance and finding a way to make it happen. I think that's the biggest challenge to overcome.
Right, right. Brittney, you are absolutely right. Actually, it is one is the perseverance, which you rightly pointed out. The other two are plan and passion. Most of the people have the passion to do something worthwhile, to make a name. But what happens is they do not have a plan. When you do not have a plan, a well chalked out strategy, you haven't done your maths properly, you haven't worked out the what the income would be and what will be the outflows. So what happens is that you, in the very beginning, there is a burnout in terms of energy, in terms of cash outflow, and whereas you haven't looked at the part which is the marketing part. Recently, quite recently, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine for last so many years, almost 25, 30 years, we have known each other. And he is basically a project planner, a person coming from project management background. He recently launched a product which is soya milk products in Pakistan. Now, he has invested a big number, a big fortune into it. And when I was talking to him a week ago, I said, but I don't see your marketing strategy. I haven't seen any ads. He said, yes, we are going to work on it. We are working on it. I said, what? Now you have already launched the product. You have already supplied to the market. Where is your marketing part? He said, no, we are working on it. I said, come on, guys. You are the ones who were leading when it was project management. Were the ones who were telling us that this is how the cash flow is, this is how the receivables are, this is how the equipment is going to be on the site, this is how the construction time is. So, what went wrong? People, when they go into their real lives, they sometimes, what I have observed is that they think marketing is important, but it will happen. No, it will not happen. You have to market before you launch the product. That is one takeaway which I have seen many startups failing, that people launch the product first and then they start marketing. It should be other way around, like there should be a gap of couple of months before you launch it. You should market it 3 to 4 months prior to your product coming into the market. You should market it, and you should have ads, social media presence, or whatever the mediums you choose for your marketing strategies. It has to be there, the strategy implementation 3 4 months prior to the actual launch of the product. The second thing which I have noticed and observed is that most of the time these entrepreneurs, they are taking advice from the wrong people. Wrong people does not mean that they are taking advice from bad people, mafia people, but it is the people who are not into that specific business line. They are talking to some friend who is a banker. They are talking to some friend who is a big government official, or he is talking to a mayor of a city. Mayor of a city is a different skill set. Running a town is more of a governance, more of doing things in a systematic way. But mayor of a town or a city is not generating income. He is not a business entity. He is more into serving people. He gets budget from the government, federal government or provincial government, and then he spends it. The problem what I have seen is people talk to their friends, their colleagues, their cousins or best friends or whatever. They don't take into consideration that these guys are very sincere to them. They like them, they love them, whatever that state is, but they cannot be advisors to this particular business line what they are in. So, Daniyal, what were your experiences when you launched it? What were the reasons for the sleepless nights? I'm sure you must have several during those days.
Well, can you hear me now, by the way? Can you
Sorry?
hear me? Can you guys
Yeah,
hear me
yeah, we
now?
can hear.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Well, I will agree with Brittney and Gohar, yourself. The most of the things you guys spoke about, the possible reasons of a startup failing, these are absolutely true. I think we went through the when you guys were telling about all these things. So I think we experienced everything that you just mentioned, both of you. uh, we faced a lot of issues because, as you said, we made from the day one we made a choice. We have to do marketing from the very first day, and we started spending. Most of our budget was going to the marketing, and we were focusing directly on the conversion ads on social media, on digital marketing, on Facebook, on Instagram, and other social media channels. And when we started generating sales, the next thing we encountered was how we gonna procure our demand. So how we gonna ensure that we're getting the same quality every time? how we will be maintaining the same quality, how we will be communicating to our customers what we are selling. So for that reason, there was not much things done in what we were dealing in. We had to make a lot of documentaries, a lot of videos telling to our customers that why our honey is so special. We had to focus a lot on the area. We had to tell the story of the area. So we did a lot of work. There was a lot of groundwork which took place in order to communicate our message to our customers. So one thing was introducing a product, telling people the difference in the different variants of honey, why the color is different, why the taste is different, what about the nutritional value. Then the standards come in, the compliances come in. Since it's a food item, we have to deal with national food authorities. When we wanted to export, we had to deal with the international honey standard. At the same time, when we were all into all this, we were facing a lot of cash issues because we realized the moment we started growing, we were having capital issues and we were always short on capital because there was not much money that we had injected in our business. We were more or less relying on the sales that were generated. And since it was online and we were doing business on e-commerce, we were getting quick payback. We were getting our money back in 7 to 10 days. So that became the survival of our business. And in the first few years, we never focused on B2B because in the B2B business, the return cycle or the credit cycle is much larger. You might get your money back after 3, 4, 5 months, and we didn't had this leverage to give to the market. So everything you said, both of you, we experienced actually.
Right, right. Okay, good. Brittney, so we are coming to the wrap up of the session, today's talk. What advice would you give as a psychologist and as an entrepreneur to young budding entrepreneurs that when they embark upon this journey, moving from 9 to 5 office work, and they decide we want to become entrepreneurs and we want to do a startup? So what advice would you like to give to all those young men and women?
Yes, thank you, Gohar. I would have to say, I believe this is something that, first off, we should be teaching in schools. Schools help people become 9 to 5 workers. They don't really help people become entrepreneurs. And so I would like to tell parents, if your child shows an interest in being a business owner, to start as young as possible with finding them a mentor and helping them start little businesses and see what it's like to fail at things and learn from that failure instead of have those negative emotions around failure. See failure as a learning experience and get comfortable with that. And then for people who may be young adults, again, find a mentor before you decide to jump ship. Find someone who is, struggling with their business and learn from them. And then find someone who is excelling at their business. So that way you kind of have a comparison to say, the person who's excelling, what are they doing differently than the person whose business is struggling? It's all about learning from other people's mistakes so you can avoid making those on your own first.
Great, great, great. Thank you, Brittney. Very, very valid points you have raised for people to understand and let it sink in, because normally parents think that grades are more important, uh, graduation is more important. So when they come out of the universities, they are not financially literate. They are more of an academic, the books, and more to do with studies and grades. And they are not street smart. They are not financially astute. Their commercial sense is not there. So when they go into real world, the business world, they are struggling. And this is probably one of the reasons. Yes, Daniyal, for the wrap up, what would you like to give as an advice to young entrepreneurs? What they should do? The
And
lessons you have learned, the things you would like for them not to take for granted, and they should do it in a better way?
Well, I partly agree with Brittany, as she rightly said. You need to have a right mentor because initially when we started, we made a lot of mistakes. I think there were points where we thought like this might be the last few months, or this might be the last year we are working, because we were always having so many problems. So the advice is find the right person who can assist you, who can help you, and always there should be a mentor. Secondly, it's very important to try, because every dream, it has an expiry date. If you do not work on it, eventually you cannot never gonna get to your dream. So it's
Right,
better to fail rather than not trying at all. So for my advice to the youngsters is that for a successful startup, you need $1 billion idea, $1 trillion effort, and maybe infinite blessings from the Almighty for its success, because it has to be. It takes everything. So that's my
right.
final take. And lastly,
Great,
try.
great, great. Very well summed up from Daniyal. Uh, to all these scholarly comments, I can hardly add anything except that we have to try. We have to have the passion and a plan, and then the perseverance. Because without a plan, you cannot simply do things. Passion, yes. A burning desire, yes. To do something worthwhile, yes. But if there is no plan attached to it, you will burn out. Passion, plan, and perseverance. So, this is all about today's coffee with Gohar. So, you guys enjoy your coffee in the part of the world you are in. Brittany, cheers. You are in North Carolina, and Daniyal, you are in Lahore. The, Daniyal is in Lahore, probably. We again missed his voice connection. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much,
Uh,
and
I'm
see
in
you
uh,
next time.
I'm in Faisalabad.
Oh, okay, you are in Faisalabad.
I'm in
Great.
Faisalabad. Yeah.
Enjoy the heat, enjoy the summer. And I'm
Burning hot
sure
here.
Brittany is enjoying it too this time
Yes.
than last year. Okay. Take care, guys. Thank you very much, Brittany. Thank you,
Thank you.
Daniel. And see you
Okay.
next
Bye
time.
bye. Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Thank you, Umar, for all the facilitation, for all the backstage, all the things you have done. Thank you, Umar. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Bye bye. See you next time.